Moore will lead us in our prayer.
Most gracious God, our Father, we come now in thy presence to give you the praise, the honor, the glory, and to say thanks, O God, that you have blessed us to come together once again. Thank you for keeping us through this frigid weather, O God, and blessing us and keeping us strength in our health. O God, we thank you that you guided us in many days, in many weather storms, O God, and that you have kept us. We ask now that you will bless our hearts and our minds, bless our spirits as we continue to serve this city and to deal with matters of importance. O God, we ask that you look beyond these walls, even into the city of Gary, and bless every citizen, those who are concerned about the financial matters of this city. And then bless those who are concerned in general about the progress of this city. Bless their families. Then, oh God, we pray that all that is said and done this evening will be fruitful and will bring about great accomplishments for this city. Oh God, we know that if we keep leaning on your everlasting arms, that everything will be well for all in this city. Thank you for hearing this prayer, for we pray not just for to be heard, we pray that you will hear our prayer, and we do believe that we pray fervently and with faith that you will answer. In the mighty and precious name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Moore, for the prayer. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown. Councilman Brown.
Here.
Councilwoman Caldwell.
Here.
Councilman Protho. Councilwoman Rogers. Councilman Smith.
Here.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade.
Here.
Councilwoman Wyatt.
Present.
And President Brewer.
Here.
Mr. President, there are 8 present, 1 absent.
With 8 present, 1 absent, we do have a quorum to conduct the business of the City of Gary. Have a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Been moved properly second. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown.
Yes.
Councilman Brown.
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rogers.
Here.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wyatt.
Yes.
And President Brewer.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 8-0.
Vote of 8-0. The minutes from the previous meeting has been adopted and so ordered. Assignment of Councilman, an ordinance and resolution on first reading.
CPO 2019-01, an ordinance amending the salary and operating budgets for the Commission for Women, Fund 261-520, sponsored by Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson, City of Gary, Angela Hayes, City Controller, and the Gary Commission for Women.
Finance.
CPO 2019-02, an ordinance authorizing the City of Gary, Lake County, Indiana, to make temporary loans to meet current obligations for the use of the Police Pension Fund, Fire Pension Fund, and anticipation of revenues to be received in such fund in the year of 2019, authorizing the issuance of revenue anticipation notes to evidence such loans and the sale of such notes, and appropriating and pledging the revenues to be received in such fund to the punctual payment thereof. Sponsored by Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson, City of Gary, Angela Hayes, City Controller.
Finance.
CPO 2019-03, an ordinance amending ordinance number 9236, revising 2019 appropriation for the Genesis Center, operating budget Fund 268, and Fund 279 for the fiscal year beginning January the 1st, 2019, ending December 31st, 2019. Sponsored by Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson, City of Gary, Angela Hayes, City Controller.
Finance.
CPO 2019-04, an ordinance appropriating 2019 budgets for the operating expenses of grants and special revenue funds for Green Urbanism and Youth Services Bureau of the City of Gary for the fiscal year beginning January the 1st, 2019, ending December 31st, 2019. Sponsored by Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson, City of Gary, Angela Hayes, City Controller.
Finance.
CPO 2019-06, an ordinance transferring 2019 lit funds to the general, sponsored by Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson, City of Gary, Angela Hayes, City Controller.
Finance.
CPR 2019-02, a resolution by the Gary Common Council to make meetings, public notices, and legislation accessible to all citizens and residents of Gary, sponsored by Rebecca Wyatt, Councilwoman, 1st District.
Ways and Means.
Mr. President, is assignment of pending ordinances and resolutions.
Thank you.
Sorry. Mr. President,
Councilwoman Brown.
I'm sorry. The Finance Committee would like to move, I move to withdraw CPO 2019-01 from the agenda.
Second.
Been moved and properly second to withdraw CPO 2019-01. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wyatt,
Yes.
and President Brewer.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 8-0.
With a vote of 8-0, CPO 2019-01 has been withdrawn from our agenda.
Mr. President, the Finance Committee has before it CPO 2019-02. For the record, I approve this ordinance for reporting out to the council. Councilwoman Caldwell
Yes.
and Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Mr. President, a majority of the Finance Committee has approved CPO 2019-02 for reporting out to the council. Finance Committee has before it CPO 2019-03. For the record, I approve this ordinance for reporting out to the council. Councilwoman Caldwell
Yes.
and Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Mr. President, a majority of the Finance Committee has approved CPO 2019-03 for reporting out to the council. Finance Committee has before it CPO 2019-04. For the record, I approve this ordinance for reporting out to the council. Councilwoman Caldwell
Yes.
and Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Mr. President, a majority of the Finance Committee has approved CPO 2019-04 for reporting out to the council. Finance Committee has before it CPO 2019-06. For the record, I approve this ordinance for reporting out to the council. Councilwoman Caldwell
Yes.
and Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Mr. President, a majority of the Finance Committee has approved CPO 2019-06 for reporting out to the council.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Caldwell.
Ways and Means has before it CPR 2019-02 for the, a resolution reporting out to the council. It's on Ways and Means. Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Mr. President, a majority of the committee.
Councilwoman Brown is also, Councilwoman Brown and Proto is your two representatives, yes.
Okay. Councilwoman Brown?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I
Oh,
didn't.
Councilman.
Oh, okay. For the record, I approve this resolution for reporting out to the council. So Brown and Proto.
Can I have you all just to report out one more time for the record? Councilwoman Brown, can I have you all to report out one more time for the record?
I'm sorry.
Report out for the record.
Mr. President, I have a question
Yes.
regarding this resolution. I was under the impression that this seems like duplicity to me. This is something that we do automatically. I don't understand this. I mean, we say that this is what we do. We've resolved to do this already. So I don't understand.
So I'll entertain a little discussion on the resolution at this time. Councilwoman Wyatt.
Yes, I'd be glad to. I sponsored the resolution. The point is that, yes, we do these things but this will be an opportunity for us to focus on individuals with disabilities and making sure that our meetings and all of our notices and, everything that the council does is accessible to everyone, even those who have physical and mental disabilities.
So I think what Councilwoman Brown is asking, what do we do differently that we're not doing now?
Well, for example, we don't have anything to communicate our meetings to the hearing impaired at this point. We don't have any other, we just have our ordinances and resolutions and minutes and notices are all in print. So that is an obstacle for people with vision problems. And we do have a mechanism set up in the city, but what I want to do with this resolution is focus attention on that and make sure that all of these things that we do on the council are accessible to all the residents. And as I said in the resolution, it's about 22% of the population of the city of Gary who are people who have these disabilities. So I think that it's important for us to be accessible to everyone.
Mr. President, I do understand that there are people with disabilities in the city, but I think that when we raised our hand and swore to do what we do, we agreed to serve all the people, and even the people with disabilities. So I just had a concern about this. It seems to me like duplicity, because we should be doing this already, and I was under the impression that this is what we already do.
Well, I will ask if it will go to committee and that we would not take any action on it during this meeting, because normally we take action on resolution, that we would send it to committee and we can have further discussion on it.
Exactly.
Fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did we finish the reporting out? The reporting out of?
Am I
Yes.
reporting this one out?
No. You're finished with yours then, correct?
I'm done.
Okay. Councilwoman Caldwell?
Okay. Mr. President, Means and Ways would like to report out CPR 2019-02.
Thank you. At this time, special and select by any council member at this time, special and select.
Mr. President.
Councilwoman Wade. White, I'm sorry.
Hello. I wanted to announce that we did have to cancel the First District Community Meeting, which was on January 28th because of the weather. We will have our meeting on February 25th, which is the fourth Monday of February, and that will be at Marquette Park Pavilion at 6 p.m. And we are hoping to reschedule our special guest, who is the emergency manager for the school city, Mr. Peter Marikas. So everyone is invited to those meetings, and again, it's Marquette Park Pavilion at 6 p.m., February 25th. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Councilwoman Wade.
I would like to, first of all, thank everyone who came to my aid in my recent domestic violence situation. I didn't know what I was going to say. I had started to prepare a statement, something that was different from what was submitted to the newspaper. And I decided that instead I would just speak impromptu, because people need to understand domestic violence is a silent killer, that you have no idea what people are going through on a daily basis. Most cases of domestic violence are never reported. 1 in 3 never seek medical attention. 85% of domestic violence victims are women. 15% are men. 35%, a black woman, an African American woman, has a 35% higher incidence of domestic violence than white women. If you don't know, if you see signs, our community has got to get educated in domestic violence. My batterer is in jail with 5 felony counts and a misdemeanor. And he won't be getting out if it's left up to me. Leaving the home is the most lethal time period. And finally, I want to say, not finally, I got a couple more things. Victim blaming causes women not to report. I'm educated. I'm a sitting city council person. I'm saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Spirit, but I am a survivor of domestic violence. It is, especially for women who are prideful, who walk circumspectly, who have decided that, you know what, I want to do something with my life. It's an embarrassment. It is, it's embarrassing, which is the number one reason why you don't report. Who would have thought? As big as my mouth is, speaking truth to power all the time, that I was a victim. I was a victim, now I'm a survivor. I'd like to thank the Gary Police Department, who was phenomenal, collectively phenomenal. The Lake County Sheriff's Department, phenomenal. The Lake County Prosecutor's Office, phenomenal. Detective Robin Bodie, awesome professional. Detective Manny Figueroa, awesome professional. And finally, Sheriff's Deputy Cliff Caldwell, who I now call my hero because he was the first one to the door. And he demonstrated what law enforcement is supposed to look like when you're responding to a domestic violence case. I felt safe for the first time in a while. And so with that, you know, when Jesus was on the cross, he said, forgive them for they know not what to do. So all you crazy people on Facebook who think that any person is responsible for being a victim, I'm learning that agape kind of forgiveness and love in a different perspective. And this is a journey. I am not healed. If I don't talk to nobody for the next 3 months, it'll be okay. And any domestic violence victim, leaving is a serious situation. There are phone numbers that you can call, the National Domestic Violence Hotline. We here in the city of Gary, the Commission of Women, her name is so difficult, Tashizia, George, reach out, talk to somebody. My mother lived 2 doors down. My brother is down there. I have family. I have friends. I have a support system. And they're angry with me because I didn't tell them. Telling ain't easy. The power and control that they exert over you is unexplainable. Thank you all for all of the support. I've gotten so much support from this city, from the mayor to our president, Ron Brewer, Councilwoman Carolyn Rogers, and Councilwoman Mary Brown. I appreciate each and every sentiment that has been sent out, and I am on a mission to stamp out domestic violence. Thank you, Mr. President.
Let me just say before I continue with my colleagues, I thank Councilwoman Wade for her courage, not just in that ordeal, just to be able to be here on tonight. It's a blessing for you to be here. Just in person to be able to get out of that situation, and things could have went bad. But I'm thankful to God that things did not go that way. And my concern for you during that time when I found out was nothing else but concern for your health and your safety, more so than anything. I tell people we're friends before we're anything, before we sit on this panel as colleagues, we're friends before anything. I don't care what gets said on the floor, off the floor, we're friends when it's all said and done with. We go get a drink of coffee, go get something to eat after all this is said and done. That's just the way it goes. We don't take things personally. But I took this very personal, what you went through, very serious what you went through. And just for you being able to open up and share some of the things that you have encountered, my heart and my prayers go out to you. I will ask this body at this time that I will make a motion here as the president of this council that Jamal Washington is refrained from coming to any city council meeting or committee meetings. That is a motion that I put on the floor
I
at this time.
second the motion.
The motion has been moved and properly second. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown?
Yes.
Councilman Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell?
I would want to talk about this it's pending litigation. I would want to discuss it in an open meeting. I would suggest, Mr. President, if we could possibly table this to have a discussion as to the legal significance of what you're doing.
I'd rather come back and have a discussion later, but I'd rather move on to the motion that's on the floor. And let the votes fall where they fall. Continue with the vote. Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Caldwell?
I abstain.
Councilwoman Rogers?
Wow.
Councilwoman Rogers?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, yes.
Councilman Smith?
I'm going to preface my vote by saying that I consulted with some attorneys when I first heard this and was told that we couldn't do it, so I abstained.
Wow.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wyatt?
Yes.
President Brewer?
Yes.
Mr. President, vote is 6 yes, 2 abstentions.
With 6 yes, 2 abstentions, Jamal Washington is refrained from visiting any council meeting or committee meetings. I will continue with special and select by any council members at this time.
Mr.
Councilwoman
President,
Mary Brown.
Before we go any further, I have some donations that the city has received, and I need to make a motion to accept those donations. The city has received the following donations: $100 from Gary and Jennifer Hudson to be used for general operating expenses at the Rainbow Shelter, $25 from Archie Ferguson to be used for general operating expenses at the Rainbow Shelter, $200 from National Sorority of Phi Delta Kappa to be used for general operating expenses at the Rainbow Shelter, and $250 from Eric Smoot and Redefined Fitness to be used for general operating expenses at the Rainbow Shelter. I move that these donations be accepted.
Second.
Been moved properly second by Councilwoman Caldwell. Roll call for the donations to be accepted.
Councilwoman Brown?
Yes.
Councilman Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rogers?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wyatt?
Yes.
And President Brewer.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 8-0.
With a vote of 8-0, the city donation that was outlined by Councilwoman Mary Brown has been accepted, so ordered. Continue with special and select.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Brown.
good evening. Good evening, everyone, and first of all, happy Black History Month. This is an important month for us from a historical standpoint, but I want everyone to know that our history reigns 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. We'll take February, but as far as I'm concerned, it's every day. Our second district councilman, Mike Protho, is not here.
Excuse me, we cannot hear down here.
Can you hear me now? Yes. I apologize. Okay, let me say again, happy Black History Month. As I said, our history is 24/7, 365 days a year. Our second district councilman, Mike Protho, is not available, but I want to make an announcement on his behalf.
Thank you.
The second district flight is now boarding a public forum at the Gary Chicago International Airport. Councilman Protho is putting on the event and a tour of the airport, presentation by the art director, refreshments, and a Tuskegee Airman may be available to speak. The event is Saturday, February 16th, from 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock p.m. at the airport terminal. That address is 6001 Airport Road in Gary. I would encourage everyone to come, not just the second district residents, but anyone that would like to attend. One more announcement. We did do a couple comprehensive forms, on Thursday. I think it was January 17th at Marquette Pavilion. It was a great event. Participation from the residents was amazing, and I must say, if you haven't been to a comprehensive forum in your community, I know we had to cancel some of them because of the weather. I would encourage you to attend that because it gives you an opportunity to talk about your community, what you like, what you don't like, and what you'd like to see the future of your community and how you want it to look. We also did one, I believe, on the 22nd at the Art House for the Emerson community. The participation probably would have been better, but the weather was bad. But the people that did show up, they participated, and we had a great turnout as far as people's input. So I would encourage all our citizens to look and find out when those dates are available, because we still have Pulaski, Marshalltown, Tolliston, Small Farms, Ambridge, Horseman, Brunswick, Westside, Glen Park, and Black Oak. Those communities we haven't had an opportunity to touch. And I think from a citizen standpoint, you want things from us as a council. Well, we need to hear from you. We need you to come out and be honest with us, participate in these events, and let us know what we're doing right or wrong. We cannot serve you if we don't know what you need from us. Okay, thank you, and God bless you.
Any other council members on special and select? Well, let me just say, I'd like to thank everyone for cooperating with the city during the past week of the inclement weather that we seen go forth. Also want to remind the people of this city with the freezing of the weather, and now things are thawing back and forth with snow and salt being put on the roads there will be potholes. That's no secret to none of us, but we want to make people aware that the city does not know where every pothole is at. So if you're seeing pothole, let's not wait till you bust a rim or something. Let's report it to the city so we can properly fill those potholes as we see fit inside the city. Also want to send out my condolences to Willie West. He's a former co-worker. We used to work together in the passing of his dad, who was funeralized this past Friday. Also, past Councilman Ryan Scott in the passing of his mother that was just funeralized this past Saturday. And also to my family, my aunt passed just the other day, and her funeral will be this Saturday in Detroit. That's all that I have. We will go to third and final. We have 2 on the agenda for tonight. Madam Clerk.
CPO 2018-51, an ordinance amending Chapter 8 regarding the humane treatment of human animals and animal control procedures in the city of Gary, sponsored by Rebecca Wyatt, Councilwoman, 1st District.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman White.
that ordinance needs to be deferred back to committee for further work.
Need a motion to defer that?
Yes.
Motion to defer, Mr. Chair.
We're deferring it back to committee?
Yes.
Is there a date that you are deferring it back for?
That sometime in March would work for me. What's the,
March 5th? You want to take it to committee, or you going to third and final?
no, I want to take it to committee.
Okay.
So
So be
maybe
it.
the March
12th.
12th.
Okay. Okay.
Motion to move to committee to March 12th?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, motion to move to committee to March 12th.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilwoman Wyatt. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wyatt,
Yes.
and President Brewer.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 8-0.
Vote to 8-0. CPO 2018-51 is moving back to committee, March the 12th. Their time? There's no time?
I think that was in the Ways and Means
That's
Committee.
Ways and Means Committee?
So Councilwoman Barnes Caldwell.
Yes. I believe that was in public safety, either one of both of
That
yours.
was me, public safety.
Okay,
Yeah, it's in public safety.
yeah.
We still do it.
You want 5:30?
That's on.
It's in public safety. Okay,
Yeah,
it's
that's
different on here. Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
312 and 530.
okay.
That's good. Okay.
Moving to the public safety, and it'll be at 5:30 on the 12th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
CPR 2018-14, a resolution of the Gary Common Council granting Alliance Steel Corporation an excess evaluation deduction tax abatement for a vacant building deduction pursuant to Indiana Code 6-1.1-12.1, sponsored by Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson, City of Gary, President Ronald Brewer, and Joe Van Dyke, Executive Director, City of Gary Redevelopment Commission.
Mr. President, I move for passage of CPR 2018-14 on third and final reading.
Second.
Moving properly second. Overview at this time. Mr. Van Dyke is here, and he's coming.
Thank you. Good evening, council.
Evening.
This is a resolution that was deferred from our New Year's meeting. One of the statutory requirements of the vacant building deduction is that an entire calendar year passes while it's being vacant before it can be utilized. As such, that building was utilized last January of 2018, so now that we're in February 2019, the entire calendar year passed. This is the fifth or sixth meeting that we've gone over the abatement, but again, nothing has changed, but just as a way of review, this is a $19.7 million project. Alliance Steel is bringing 130 jobs for a steel processing facility from Bedford Park, Illinois, here to Gary. The average wages are $31 hourly. We have a member of Alliance Steel, their finance chairman. Should there be any questions on their progress or any questions relative to this ordinance, I'm happy to answer.
Any comments, council members,
Mr. President,
councilwoman?
I'm glad to see, could you stand up, please? Okay. All right, I'm glad to see representation from your company, and we appreciate you being here, because last time we missed out on representation. So, Mr. President, thank you very much. Mr. President, I will be supporting this resolution as a result of their presence. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council members? Thank you. We will go to public comment. Thank you, Ms. Van Dyke. Thank you. We will go to public comment at this time. Anyone like to speak for or against CPR 2018-14?
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the council. My name is Jim Nowacki. I live in the 2nd District. Mr. Van Dyke said nothing has changed. Of course, a great deal has changed even since the last time this council considered this ordinance. We saw reported in local papers today that the steel industry in our city is showing record profits. U.S. Steel is showing a 20% return on capital on their investments. Over $400,000, $400 million in profits in the last quarter. Just imagine that. And yet the steel industry comes to this council and says, we need more tax abatements. The council has given them tax abatements. Given them tax abatements not only on their real property, but it's also given them tax abatement on their personal property. That's already been done. Now the petitioner comes and says that the building's been vacant for over a year. And we know that that's not true because they've already bought it. It's their building now. They don't get that deduction when they're keeping the building vacant. That's just ridiculous. The council should take into consideration, anytime we're looking at tax abatements, whether those tax abatements are actually used. There was a time in this city when the steel industry supported the city with over half of the tax receipts from the city. Now that's changed because of the Republican tax cuts that the steel industry has received, and also from the Republican tax cuts from the Trump administration and the tariffs that have been installed. Now the steel industry is booming, and the profits have never been higher. And yet the steel industry comes before this council and says, we are going to take a tax break and we're going to pass that bill on to the residents of the city. And the council has already given them 2 big tax abatements. And this is a tax abatement not only that they don't need, but they're not even entitled to. The council has to take action today. I know some of you have already said, we're going to kiss up to an industry coming into the city. But I'm telling you that your responsibility is not just to this guy. Your responsibility is also to the people who are residents of the city, who can benefit from the tax abatement that they're not entitled to. So I would have urged the council. You did the smart thing. You weren't susceptible to just going along with it. But this is the time for the council to stand up and be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, public portion is now closed. Any further discussion by council members?
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Wyatt.
I am thrilled that Alliance Steel is coming to the 1st District. I think the tax abatements are a responsible use of our authority so that we can provide employment for the residents of the city and further development. So I don't think of that as kissing up. I think of it as doing my duty as the 1st District Councilwoman. Thank you.
Any other council members? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown?
Yes.
Councilman Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rogers?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wyatt?
Shh. Hold it.
Councilwoman Wyatt?
Yes.
President Brewer?
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 8-0.
With a vote of 8-0, CPR 2018-14 has been adopted and so ordered.
Mr. President, in this pending ordinance and resolutions on third and final.
Thank you. Council pending ordinance resolution on second reading.
CPO 2019-02, an ordinance authorizing the City of Gary, Lake County, Indiana, to make temporary loans to meet current obligations for the use of the Police Pension Fund, Fire Pension Fund, in anticipation of revenues to be received in such funds in the year 2019. Authorizing the issuance of revenue anticipation notes to evidence such loans and the sale of such notes, and appropriating and pledging the revenues to be received in such fund to the punctual payment thereof. Sponsored by Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson, City of Gary, Angela Hayes, City Controller.
Councilwoman Brown, before we move, if there's no objection by any council member, I would like to have them all read, and we do one vote on the finance, and that way we can move the agenda.
Certainly.
No objections, council members? Okay.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, can we read all of them?
CPO 2019-03, an ordinance amending ordinance number 9236, revising 2019 appropriations for the Genesis Center Operating Budget Fund 268 and Fund 279 for the fiscal year beginning January the 1st, 2019, ending December 31st, 2019. Sponsored by Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson, City of Gary, Angela Hayes, City Controller. CPO 2019-04, an ordinance appropriating 2019 budgets for the operating expenses of grants and special revenue funds for Green Urbanism and Youth Services Bureau of the City of Gary for the fiscal year beginning January the 1st, 2019, ending December 31st, 2019. Sponsored by Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson, City of Gary, Angela Hayes, City Controller. CPO 2019-06, an ordinance transferring 2019 lit funds to the general fund, sponsored by Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson, City of Gary, Angela Hayes, City Controller.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Brown?
first of all, I move to amend by substitution CPO 2019-02.
Second.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown?
Yes.
Councilman Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rogers?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wyatt?
Yes.
And President Brewer.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 8-0.
With a vote of 8-0, CPO 2019-02 has been amended by substitution.
Okay, Mr. President, I move for passage of CPO 2019-02, 2019-03, 2019-04, and 2019-06 on second reading. Finance Committee meeting on Tuesday, February 12th at 5:30 p.m., and a public hearing on February 19th.
Been moving properly. Second. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown?
Yes.
Councilman Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rogers?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wyatt?
Yes.
And President Brewer.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 8-0.
With a vote of 8-0, CPO 2019-02, 03, 04, and 06 is moving to the Finance Committee February the 12th at 5:30 p.m. and a public hearing February the 19th at 6 p.m.
Mr. President, for some housekeeping, we just scheduled both the Public Safety Committee meeting and the Finance Committee meeting at the same time and date. We can move the Public Safety to 6 p.m. if Councilman Brown is agreeable.
Yeah, we'll move it back to March, because originally you asked for March, so you want to make it back to February.
Oh,
No,
is
no.
this for March? Oh, okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. You're right. Okay. Thank you. My mistake.
So you
We're
don't-
in March is good.
You gonna keep it in March?
Yes.
You good? Okay, so
Yes.
we're good where we got it.
We're
Okay.
good.
CPR 2019-02, a resolution by the Gary Common Council to make meetings, public notices, and legislation accessible to all citizens and residents of Gary, sponsored by Rebecca Wyatt, Councilwoman, 1st District.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Caldwell.
I move for passage for CPR 2019-02 on second reading with a committee meeting February the 12th at 6 p.m. and a public meeting February the 19th at 6 p.m.
There a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Smith. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown?
No.
Councilman Brown? Councilwoman Caldwell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rogers?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wyatt?
Yes.
And President Brewer.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 7 yes, 1 no.
With 7 yes, 1 no, CPR 2019-02 is moving to the Ways and Means Committee February the 12th at 6 p.m. and a public hearing February the 19th at 6 p.m.
Mr. President, it's pending ordinances and resolutions on second reading.
Thank you. At this time, we will have the mayor's report at this time.
Good evening, Councilman Brewer, Mr. President, and members of the council. I want to provide this report and start with condolences. You've mentioned former Councilman Ronye Scott and the passing of his mother, Priscilla Scott. Sinclair Harley also lost his mother, Miss Vera Elaine Harley. That funeral was also this past Saturday. Our IT, or the member of our video team, Michelle Harper, lost her sister, Tunisia Harper. Her funeral is January 26th. Pastor Isaac Culver of Jerusalem and his family in the loss of his father, Isaac Culver Sr., Ms. Karen Jones and Alexis Grant in the passing of their mother and grandmother, Ernestine Emery, and Sidney Cummings, who was a longtime bailiff at the Gary City Court and educator in Gary Community Schools, passed away, and condolences are being sent to his wife, Mrs. Geraldine Cummings, and his family. I want to also thank everyone, and you alluded to it earlier, who worked so well with all of the members of the city relative to the polar vortex. We were talking this morning, and we saw a 100-degree shift in temperature over the course in less than about 10 days. And so our residents felt it, the infrastructure felt it, and it's important because so many people, certainly our first responders, our general services department, so many of our city team were on the spot, but our faith community stepped up. St. John, Christian Valley, Bethel, Church of God in Christ, all provided warming centers for residents throughout the city, and of course our partnerships that are already in place. And so I just want to thank this community for once again demonstrating our compassion. I want to congratulate both the Frontiers, the Gary Frontiers, for a very successful King Breakfast, as well as this year's drum major, Dr. Janet Seabrook, for the acknowledgement and award for her hard work. Tomorrow morning, the United Negro College Fund breakfast will be held downstairs at the Genesis Center. This is our annual partnership with UNCF, and if you haven't gotten your ticket, there's still time. It is a worthy cause, and it goes to support scholarships for our young people. And I know that a number of the council members, as well as members of the city staff, are UNCF graduates. And I am a proud UNCF parent alumni. So, you know, I just want to encourage everyone to support that. I certainly would welcome all of you at the State of the City address, which will be held on Friday, February 22nd, and that will be here at the Genesis Center beginning at 11:30. Those who do not want to attend the luncheon are welcome to attend the address only at 12:30 and 40 minutes. That's my goal. And I know sometimes I don't always achieve that. So that is my challenge to myself. Also, on February 27th, and I want to thank the members of the public who have sent any number of emails about their concerns relative to the school corporation's art collection. Dr. Marikas and I have had a number of conversations, and on February 27th, 2019, at 6 p.m. at Westside, we will jointly convene a meeting that talks about the assets and the disposal of the assets of the city schools. Some may know that during the last legislative session, there was a process that required notice to be given to me, and I, in turn, provide that same notice to the public. But we want to hear, because there have been a number of ideas about how that notice requirement can be enhanced, how the public can be involved. And so we want to invite people to come out on February 27th for that meeting. I also want to invite folks to the comprehensive plan meeting on Thursday, February 7th at Brunswick Pavilion from 6 to 7:30. In addition to that, we will also pick up the meetings that did not occur. In Glen Park, the meeting will be at the Blind Social Center on February 12th from 6 to 7:30. At the Midtown or Central District meeting will be held at the YWCA on Tuesday, February 26th from 6 to 7:30. And the Black Oak meeting will be held at the Beacon Light Community Church on Burr Street in Black Oak, and that will be held on February 21st from 6 to 7:30. And we would certainly appreciate and encourage members of the public to attend. There will also be an Adna Glen Ryan meeting scheduled, and we will be sure to publicize that date. The Mayor's Office of Constituent Services, in conjunction with our Love Your Block initiative, held 2 meetings for the Love Your Block initiative, most recently last evening. And essentially what we're doing is working with the long-established block clubs and any who want to newly establish block clubs in the community to work with the city to improve the appearance of our city. And it is a part of the Cities of Service initiative, which is a national initiative, and we did receive a $25,000 grant, but also 3 volunteer or AmeriCorps Vistas are working with us to work with the community. On tomorrow, President Brewer and I will travel to Indianapolis to testify in favor of Senate Bill 552. Senator Earlene Rogers will also join us in that testimony, as well as Chuck Hughes from the Chamber of Commerce. And this is the bill that is sponsored by Senator Messmer, that deals with the ability of the Majestic Star Casino to move from land to move from Buffington Harbor to 8094. And while this bill is largely a casino bill, and there are a number of things that address casinos all over the state, this is, from our point of view, the first step in our ability to develop Buffington Harbor as we have laid out and begin the outline this summer. We anticipate that there will be another separate bill that will be focused on Buffington Harbor and economic development in Gary. We are still working through what that bill will be, But we know that in order to maximize the utility of the Buffington Harbor area, we need to have the casino out of that corridor. It doesn't mean that work can't happen. We've already seen the investment that has been announced by Fulcrum Bioenergy in that corridor. We already know that there is an industrial road being built with the partnership of the Economic Development Administration in that corridor. And we know that Carmoose Lime has also expanded in that area, along with lakes, rivers, and logistics. But in order to gain the full advantage of that area, we also want to have the opportunity to utilize as much of that land as possible. And so tomorrow represents that first of many steps. We know that it is a long session, and that means in a long session, things often get done in the last 3 days, which will be in April this year. I do want to report that the tax amnesty bill, which would be a statewide bill, even though we initiated it here, which would allow those who have penalties on their real estate taxes but want to pay them, Mr. Nowacki, who want to pay them, that it will allow you a period to pay those taxes and get back in good standing. And what it does is it provides for the waiver of the penalty once those taxes are paid in full. In addition, I want to provide an update on the financial recovery plan. That process continues. We actually have a long list that we meet around every week to look at the deadlines, whether we're meeting them, and in many instances we are. Some of the goals that we have achieved to date are the reduction of the cost relative to our weekly payments and our personnel cost in a number of departments, and this is a result of the Freeze Committee. We also have seen reductions in the cost of health insurance, and we know that that was not without difficulty for a number of staff members, but we also know that it was necessary to achieve our goals. We also have seen the increase in revenue. One instance of that is the work that we've seen as a result of accidents that occur with city property. We've already received our first check. Sometimes you see guardrails, street lights, things that, you think, well, gee whiz, somebody just knocked that over and kept going. Well, the good news about that now is that we are tracking those reports, and we are addressing that through a company that is working with us to recover damages on that property. We are also in the process of completing our sale leaseback, and I know that some of you have asked, well, I thought we were going to run out of money. And certainly we continue to make payroll, but I will tell you that one of the issues that confronts the Freeze Committee every week is which vendors to pay, because we don't have the money to pay all of the vendors as we would like to and as we anticipate doing. And so as we look towards the closing of that sale leaseback, that should put us on track to not only pay those vendors, but again, the whole goal is to balance this budget by 2021. And so that work is in progress. And what I will tell you is that the development that you're hearing about with Alliance Steel, the development that we're hearing about with the new purchasers from the casino, the development that is occurring will certainly factor into these efforts in a positive way. I also want to, in closing, two things. One, because this is the last meeting before her last day, thank publicly Nikel Allen Winfrey, who has decided to go on to the private sector. And, you know, I always talked to folks and said, if you give me a term, then, you know, then I can't hold anything else against you. She's done more than that. And, but I do want to thank her for her service as our corporation counsel. Friday will be her last day, and we certainly appreciate the fact that she has been a vital member of Team Gary. And, you know, one of the things that we always say, that once you're a member of the team for life. So we want to thank her for that. The last thing I want to say is I appreciate the candor and the transparency that Councilwoman Sparks Wade has exhibited in sharing her ordeal. Not just on the most recent day when the police were called to her home, but her journey as a victim of domestic violence. And one of the things that we know is that there is no particular demographic, no particular economic group, no particular type of individuals who are victimized as a result of domestic violence. We know that this is a power issue for the abuser, and what I appreciate is that she has reclaimed that power by publicly talking about it and by providing an example for others who may be victimized as well. And, you know, the good news is that she is a survivor and not a victim, as we have seen so many instances in our community where we've seen tragedy occur. So I just want you to know that you certainly have the support of this administration. And I agree with Councilman Brewer that, you know, you can disagree on a variety of things, but at the end of the day, you don't disagree, and you agree on the respect and the sanctity of the life of another human being. So I just wanted the public to know that, but I also, as I shared with Councilwoman Sparks Wade privately, I wanted her to know that.
Is there any questions for the mayor at this time from any council members?
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Wyatt.
I just wondered if we have patching trucks out on the streets already, or do you need some more data before they can get out?
No, they're out. They weren't out the day that it rained because it was raining. In fact, I have an elaborate report from Public Works, and I would have been in big trouble if I had not given it. So we have actually 1,000 tons of salt that we are due from Cargill, but we also have salt in our inventory, and we expect to get the entire delivery by the end of the week. We are preparing for what may very well be an icy or an ice mixture event for tonight, and that preparation starts at 8 p.m. tonight. We will run shifts from 3 to 11 tonight in preparation of that storm. In addition to that, we have been keeping a running inventory of the equipment that is available. Today was maintenance day, and a lot was done in the garage with our equipment. We also submitted our community crossings grants on February 1st, and the applications in the grant were Ridge Road from Harrison to Mississippi, 7th Avenue from Broadway to Mississippi, Grant Street from Ridge Road to 47th, 6th Avenue, Broadway to Mississippi, 25th Avenue, Klein to Clark, and 23rd Avenue, Chase to Grant. And that's the 50-50 matching program with the state. The 15th Avenue closure at Harrison Street is being closed for railroad repairs. It's scheduled to reopen by Thursday, February 7th. Harrison is still closed between 27th Avenue and 30th Avenue, and we are looking at late spring for it to be open. There will be a progress meeting on Wednesday at 1 p.m., and Public Works will be in attendance, so we'll have a better idea. And Chase Street over 8094 is closed for bridge deck repair, but we know that that street, for the most part, is not available for public use. GSD will close 25th Avenue today for some maintenance work, and it was postponed because of the weather last week. And we will continue to work through our buildings. I will tell you that we had some leaks as a result of the extreme cold and then the thaw. But we have been just actively, the Public Works team has been actively addressing that, and we want to thank you. I want to give a special thanks to both General Services and our the building department, the folks who were literally working 24 hours over the last really 10 to 14 days because of the extreme weather events, both in checking our buildings and in making sure that the streets were safe. I want to thank them for their hard work with the snow events, and not only addressing the snow, but trying to get the salt out before because we knew that at a certain temperature it would freeze. And it's not just General Services, but it's the Gary Sanitary District, it's the Gary Police Department, it's the Gary Fire Department, it's the Gary Housing Authority, it's our partners at the school corporation, and certainly our contractors have been called out on at least 4 or 5 occasions, and they have stepped up. So that's a long way of answering a short question, which is that there will be patching. I just want to remind you that it will be cold patching. So it will have to be patched on a number of occasions. But the best way for us to get that information is by residents letting us know, calling 881-1311, putting it in your 311 app. And we thank you in advance for your patience as we work to get this done. I would also tell you that our Public Works Department is already planning for 2019 as we look for the opportunity to get hot patch for resurfacing, crack sealing, city curb and sidewalk, the 50-50 residential sidewalk program, seeing that come back, the roadway striping, because we didn't stripe last fall because we did not want it to come right up, and the guardrail repair in various locations, as well as the delineator repair at the county line railroad crossing, because that's a tremendous concern for so many folks.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mayor. Just also want to thank, we always thank General Service, but a lot of times we look at the job that we require for them to do, and especially when we're talking about snow. Everybody wants that snow pushed at the same time, and it's just not able to happen. But the guys and the women are out there working hard as they can, and I just want to send special thanks out to the maintenance staff, because even though we have so many crews out there, things break down, things happen. But I just want to thank the maintenance department, how hard they work to put those pieces of machinery back in service again. So I just want to send a special thanks out to them, because I know a lot of times we look at the general service department overall to do the job, but the things break down and the maintenance guys do a heck of a job getting the equipment back up and back on the street. So
Mr. President, you raised a good point.
Yes.
Thank you for raising that. And I would have to say the office staff too,
Yes.
because they run a 7 to 7 shift when they are there.
Yes.
When we do these snow events, so that's a big deal too.
Yeah, I was just very impressed with how things was conducted, no complaints at all. Thank the citizens for being patient with the city. I thank for the good feedback that we did receive on numerous occasions there also. Also to the fire department, I'd like to thank you. Red Cross came in to help out, and they needed a place to store their vehicle, and I thank the fire department for moving over some things and making room for the Red Cross to come in. Good thing that we didn't need them inside the city of Gary, but they was dispatched to Maryville and to East Chicago. They was needed, but they was housed inside of Gary, and we thank the Gary Fire Department for working with the Red Cross also. We have a few speakers for tonight. Have a Mike. He's from the Miller area there. I have a Robert L. I have a Swine. I have a Robin Beasley. Ms. Nowacki, Kendra Johnson, Ms. Suley. If you will come at that time, in that order. Is there a mic here? If you can give your name for the record. Name and address for the record, sorry.
Hello, my name is Mike Strauss. I live in Miller, Indiana, and in the Miller area there. And my exact address isn't that important. However,
Excuse me, sir. For the record, I need your address for the record.
All right, well, I respectfully decline. Madam Mayor and council members, thank you very much for this opportunity tonight. Basically, there's a few things that I wanted to address to the council. A lot of them have to do with a lot of the corruption that we have in this wonderful city that we have. And the members of this council, at this very evening, I mean, I didn't even think I was going to need to address the very corruption that occurred at this meeting this very evening. Thought I was going to be able to go into what I wanted to talk about, but I have to now address the fact that apparently a protection order isn't enough. While I agree that, I feel for the councilwoman and the issues that she had, it's very disturbing. And those things shouldn't happen. But a public meeting is not the time and place to be participating in public corruption simply because it's popular speech. To tell somebody that they cannot come to a public meeting, a protection order, that's what those are for. This here meeting is not the place to put a motion in front of the council for any one of your members, to put a motion in front of the council to exclude anyone in this community from coming to this meeting. All right? That's not how we do things in a constitutional republic.
Okay.
All right? Now, as for what I came here to speak about, on the 1st of September of last year, I had to deal with three of your officers at the Gary Police Department. All right? I'm a journalist. They just happened to be outside of my house doing some weird stuff, taking care of a call that they were on. I go out with my phone to take a recording, as I'm permitted to do and protected under the First Amendment, and I get my rights violated. I get harassed. I get my hands stomped on, my neck crushed, arrested, put in jail for 3 days without treatment for my diabetic condition because they refused to take me to the county jail where they can treat me. I had to deal with that for 3 days. Yeah, my case is going to get dismissed for the unlawful arrest that took place that night. But that doesn't take from the fact that I missed the birth of my nephew. That doesn't replace the fact that I had to sit in your city holding facility for 3 days without proper medical treatment. It doesn't fix any of that. There's multiple.
Thank you, sir. That's your 3 minutes.
In the city, and it's got to change.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name.
Can you use the mic, please?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Robert Alcorn, sir. One of the founders of E&J Production. I'm a homeboy at heart all over this country. And I'm high of my little city, Gary, Indiana, which is a big city to me. Throughout my ventures of this world, I've been all over this world. Everybody can call someplace home, but this one is mine. And here recently, from October to now, I felt like a second-class citizen, being I'm a professional dancer also. When I say dancer, I'm a stepper. I'm a person of the arts. We go from coast to coast dancing, representing our city, Gary, Indiana. And all the young adults and older alike, if you know what stepping is about, they call it stepping, but it's bopping and walking to us. A lot of the people in the room, young and older alike, have been to our function. I did protocol as I wanted to give everybody's popular demand, hey, give them another say, give them another say. I did. Went through the protocol. There was nothing on the calendar for June the 1st of this year. Did my deposit and everything else, and I don't know who was responsible for saying that I couldn't do that. And I would have to see my Madam Mayor there to say, well, I wanted to see her, because I'm not a telephone person, and I shouldn't have to be here doing this, because my organization, 219, we've given multitude of things here for adults without any problem. But I really felt like a second-class citizen when they told me this is what I have to do in order to do this. And I've been all over the country. I've spent money on flyers, which, if you don't mind, this is what that is to see. An adult fair, pluggers, tickets, the whole shot. Got people coming over from all over the country. Dance in our little city. And God bless it, I wish we just had some place to accommodate them because of the money that goes out for them to stay everywhere else, but to come here to dance. I tell them, I said, we don't have a lot of places like everybody else does. I said, we have a few nice places and a lot of gorgeous people here. So I want to know, how can I be accommodated? Because I have money out. And they said I would have to see Madam Mayor in order to do this. Now, she has more important things to do other than, but this is important to me because I was born and bred right here. And everywhere I go, everywhere I dance, every place I put my feet on the dance floor, they know that I'm from Gary, Indiana.
Mayor will be glad to speak with you right after the meeting. Okay?
Appreciate it.
All right.
I'm a little tired guy too because I've been working.
Okay.
Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you. Is there a Robin in the room? Robin Beasley, Mr. Nowacki.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the council. My name is Jim Nowacki. I live in the 2nd District, and I was very gratified to hear comments made by the mayor regarding some provisions regarding assets of the Gary Community School Corporation. As the council is probably aware, the Gary School Corporation was once in the possession of over 300 important pieces of art. Some of the names mentioned in inventories, past inventories, included Rembrandt, Monet, Cézanne, H.O. Tanner, John Audubon, Asher Durand. There was even indications that at least 3 Georgia O'Keeffes were in the possession for a period of time. Now, you could build a museum around those names. Most recently, we find that violating the requirements for proper notification, the Picasso maquet that had been in the possession of Gary Community School Corporations for probably some 40 years was auctioned off to museum in Belgium, a museum in Belgium paid $20,000 for this Picasso sculpture. Any Picasso sculpture anywhere in the world is worth millions. But somehow, because of the lackadaisical attitude that we have about our art in our city, someone else was going to reap the benefit of an actual Picasso sculpture. At one point, 300 pieces, important pieces. Now 60 pieces left out of that inventory. That's an 80% loss. One painting, just one painting in the collection, the Asher Durand painting, which was displayed in Roosevelt Library. The last two notable paintings by Asher Durand, one sold for $35 million. The other, most recently, in the last several months, $40 million. Can you imagine the numbers? Now, the Asher Durand that we had is now in a museum out east. It was never properly auctioned or disposed of. It was actually stolen and is now in a museum out east. The Asher Durand that many Roosevelt alumni would be able to identify as soon as they saw it. We lost it in 1961. The museum got it in 1963. We had purchased it in 1947. Try to imagine the, so while it's good that we take some measures to assure that there's even proper notice for the disposition of this artwork, we have to also take into consideration the over 220 pieces that are missing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Kendra Johnson, and I live in the 4th District. I'd like to thank Dr. Seabrook for coming out on Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, and out to Dory Miller to talk about the importance of the HPV vaccinations with our residents, with our parents, and with our young people. I'd also like to applaud Black Lives Matter, Northwest Indiana Gary, for their citizen state of the city address that was very well attended at the Gary Public Library, to the point that they're offering to do a second one. Congratulations to my son, Kendrick C. Horton, on his graduation from the Air Force Basic Training. And with that being said, I'd also like to say that the news of my demise has been greatly exaggerated. I received a few calls from longtime former residents of Dory Miller because they had heard I had passed away. And so I'm letting everyone know the reason you have not seen me is because, number one, I want to see my son graduate, and number two, I've been in Indianapolis talking to individuals about the greatness of this city, to the point they did not want me to leave. And they said if Gary produces individuals like myself, then they can't wait to see the other positive people from Gary, Indiana. And I did that because I was sick and tired of hearing all the negative about my city. So it's about time people promote the positive. And while I was down in Indianapolis on New Year's Day, we made the front page of the Indianapolis Star. Why? Because everybody's interested in finding out what's going on with our casino. So if they're interested about that, what other positive things can we put out about what we're trying to do in the city? And last, two things, I'm going to be dealing with the breaking pipes in Dory Miller. I got a lot of calls from my residents because there are a lot of vacant buildings out there. But I will salute our new manager because she is on the case. and she's trying to make sure that those issues are being taken care of. And for those of you that have not been to IUN to see the Black History Month program that's going on, you missed two good programs. And the one today was about Bessie Coleman. And it was by her great niece, in this country. I asked her, have you been to Roosevelt High School?
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Bessie Coleman taught.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. President,
Good evening.
Madam Mayor, the council members, and the public, and just those watching on social media. Good evening all. I want to thank you, Ms. Rebecca Wyatt, and other council members for voting for passage of this resolution and passing it on to committee. The resolution that I'm referring is to making sure that the city of Gary, the command council making meetings, public notices, and legislation accessible to all citizens and residents of Gary. When we speak of all citizens, that includes people with disabilities. When we speak of people with disabilities, means 1 of every 5 of us sitting here today. 1 of 3 in most instances. So whether it affects you personally, directly, or affects a family member, or sometime in the near future, or hopefully later on in life, it will affect you somehow. Disability does not discriminate. The intellectually disabled, people with cognitive disabilities, they want to participate.